It's finally here, folks. We finally got our hands on an Xbox Series X. So you know I have to hook it up to an LG C10 OLED. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and if I seem a little extra giddy or excited, it's because I am. We finally get to hook up the Xbox Series X to the LG C10 OLED, a combo which, at least on paper, should be a match made in gamer heaven. But is it really? Is it that great? And if so, what makes it so great? We're going to dive into that. We're also going to take a look at some of the video settings in both the console and the TV and find out if you should or should not make any adjustments for the best experience. And finally, I want to explore whether or not it's worth paying a premium price for this gaming combo. Real quick though, I want to know, did you get your hands on an Xbox Series X, or are you looking forward to doing that? Is this your console of choice? Leave me a comment down below so we can talk about that. And while you're at it, please click like and subscribe so that we can continue to make these great videos for you. All right, let's go. So let's start out by talking about the console itself. You know what? It's not as big as I thought it would be. And maybe that's because I've been living with the monstrous PlayStation 5 for a while now, but it's a really manageable size, to be honest with you. And as far as connectivity goes, it's pretty basic. You've got HDMI output, an Ethernet port, a couple of USB in the back, and then one USB up front. Not much in the way of buttons. You've got the Xbox button up top, and then an eject button for your disk drive. We'll talk more about that in a minute. The only really remarkable thing here is that it does generate a fair amount of heat. But the good news is the fan is completely silent. You'll never hear this thing even when it is in overdrive. So LG has done everything it can to make this a seamless and smooth experience. And it is. As soon as you plug the Xbox into the television, you're going to get this message that the instant game response is launched. And that means that the TV has sensed the Xbox is there, and it's actually going to send a message back down to the Xbox through something called an EDID, which tells the console exactly what the TV can do. That means you're automatically going to go into game mode with the TV. The lowest input lag is set, and the best video settings should be set as well. There is one manual setup step that you're not going to want to miss out on, and that is the HDR Game Calibration. Basically, the Xbox wants you to set your black levels and your peak brightness according to what the TV can do, and it uses this checkerboard pattern in 3 different ways in order to achieve that. With that out of the way, I want to go into the Xbox settings, go into General, go into TV, display options, and discuss a few things with you. Now, even though the Xbox and the LG OLED communicated with each other, for whatever reason, it's chosen a 60 Hertz refresh rate, which I actually want to switch to 120 Hertz, and that is because if you choose the 60 Hertz refresh rate, you're actually choosing HDMI 2.0B features. Now, if I go into 4K TV details under the setup menu, it recognizes that the TV supports 4K at 120 Hertz and reminds you need an ultra high-speed cable, which comes with the console in the box in order to get it. It also recognizes that it does HDR10 for gaming, Dolby Vision for TV, and does 4K 10-bit at 24, 50, and 60 Hertz for watching movies and television. So it's interesting to me that it didn't default to the 120 Hertz refresh rate. Now, if you want to take a stab at calibrating the TV, now this goes beyond the HDR Game Calibration, but calibrating the TV itself, you can do that. The Xbox provides a pretty comprehensive series of steps and instructions on how you can calibrate your TV so that you're getting the best shadow detail, peak brightness, color accuracy, and contrast. It's a pretty nice system. Just make sure you're paying very close attention to the instructions, and I think that you can make some improvements. Next thing I want to show you is video modes. Now you'll notice that all of these boxes, save one, are automatically ticked, and that's good because the TV can support all of these, and it should. The one that is not selected is Allow YCC 422. Now, it's kind of hard to explain what chroma subsampling is without a really deep explanation. I would say go ahead and click this, and the reason why is because there are instances in which you might be watching an Ultra HD Blu-ray, and it might actually go to 420 chroma, which is a much lower quality color sampling than the 422 that it's recommending here. So by enabling that option, I feel like you're covering all the bases and you're not taking any risks. The last thing I want to show you is the video fidelity and overscan. You'll see I've selected the PC RGB color space. It actually defaulted to standard, but I want the widest color gamut I can possibly get. And then as far as color depth, I'm sticking with 10-bit. This is the recommendation. If you go up to 12-bit, you're running the risk that you're actually going to exceed the console's capability. It caps out at about 32 gigabits per second, and honestly, if you're running everything at max, you're going to run into a wall, and that could be a problem. Next, let's check out some of the audio settings. This is is really interesting. Right now it's set to HDMI audio stereo uncompressed, and that's because the television itself is being used. However, if I was going to use the TV's eARC port to pass Dolby Atmos or DTS:X out to a receiver or even an Atmos-enabled soundbar, I would want to go with 5.1 uncompressed at least, possibly 7.1 depending on what your capabilities are. Now, it's not going to let me select that now because it's not getting the information it needs in order to know that there is a surround sound system hooked up, but you can imagine if you had one hooked up, you could make that selection. Then there's headset audio, which is really interesting. I didn't know this. You can actually use Windows Sonic, Dolby Atmos, or DTS Headphone X with a set of headphones, which is awesome. You can do that via HDMI if you have the right kind of headset. Just make sure that you turn off any enhancement on the headset itself before you do that. One of the things that impresses me most about this console is its blazing speed. From the startup to starting a game, everything is so much faster than it used to be. Especially games like Forza Horizon 4 here, which I used to be able to press the start game button, go make myself a sandwich, come back, and it still wouldn't have started. On this console, it's up and running in a fraction of the time. Also, I love the quick start feature, which allows you to switch between games and not have to wait for them to load. They're just basically waiting in a queue for you to join again. One of the things I went into this wondering was whether or not the Xbox Series X could replace other stuff in my entertainment system. Could it basically be a one-stop shop for all things entertainment? I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. It's not as smooth as a Roku experience, but it's certainly serviceable. I still think it's funny you have to go into an app in order to play a Blu-ray disc, but that's how it works on Xbox. And despite this graphic, which looks like it comes from 1995, it's actually a fully functioning app. And once you're used to it, it functions just like most other Blu-ray players that you're used to using, except for this one actually does HDR10 and Dolby Vision, which is fantastic. And then when it comes to entertainment apps like YouTube, HBO Max, Disney, Netflix, you know the sorts, they're all available here and they all work extremely well. The only complaint I have is that you gotta go and find them and download them, and then in your home screen, you don't get to see all of them in one place. You've gotta kind of use whatever you used most recently, or you have to go to your section where you can look at all of your apps and pick one from there. Quick note on the Series X as an Ultra HD Blu-ray player or Blu-ray player in general. I know when the console and the TV first came out and got paired together, folks were having some troubles like with raised blacks and significantly crushed blacks in some instances, but fortunately both Microsoft and LG have issued firmware updates that largely solve these problems. As far as gameplay experience goes, it's been fantastic so far. Even the controller with its new textured back brings a lot of joy to playing games on this system. And the smoothness of the gameplay itself has been fantastic, but really it's the picture quality. That's what I'm here for. On this LG C10 OLED, it's absolutely luscious. The blacks are deep, but not overly darkened. Some first-person shooters may be a little bit dim for some folks, but generally speaking, I've been enjoying it. The bright highlights for HDR have been fantastic against those perfect blacks. The color is fantastic as well. Like, I have no complaints at all. This is about as good as it could possibly look. If there's a downside to the Xbox Series X, I feel like it's because it came out without a bunch of games built specifically for the new hardware. Sure, you can go back and play some games that have been optimized for the platform, but there's not a lot of exciting new stuff to play right out of the gate. Still, I think the Xbox Series X has a ton of unlocked potential. That means that as the years go by, it's going to remain an exciting console. So earlier I posed the question, is this combo worth the premium price you have to pay in order to get it? And in my opinion, the answer is an absolute yes. I definitely love this combo. Everything about it, really. I love the new controller. I love the speed of the Xbox. I love the HDR highlights in the gaming. It's very smooth. I love variable refresh rate availability up to 4K 120. It's pretty fantastic all the way around. So if you want to get the absolute most out of the Xbox Series X and get the most seamless experience across the board, I definitely recommend this combo. Thanks, as always, for watching, everyone. If this isn't your dream gaming combo, what is? Let me know in the comments, and while you're there, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and here's 2 other videos I think you'll like.